But the subject of Halloween does play into our professional lives as divorce lawyers. And so I'm happy to engage in an IG Live with you this week on the subject of Halloween.
Yes, and it's happening this year. I think Halloween was canceled last year due to, safety reasons surrounding COVID. But from what I've heard, Halloween is happening this year in 2021. So that's good news for children.
So people might wonder, why are two divorce lawyers talking about Halloween? Well, the answer is because we've been forced, due to conflict between separated spouses, to address the subject of Halloween. So much so that most of our standard form separation agreements and parenting plans have a paragraph specifically pertaining to Halloween. And what normally it says is either one of two versions. Either the parents will celebrate Halloween with the children together, but the more common one is they will rotate year to year doing Halloween with the kids. And this is important. It usurps the regular schedule, meaning if this year Halloween is on Sunday and this year it happens to be mom's weekend with the kids, the agreement could say that in all odd-numbered years, dad gets the kids on Halloween from 5 o'clock until the next day. Well, in that situation, this weekend would have been mom's time with the kids under the normal weekly schedule, but because of the special status of Halloween, that usurps the regular schedule, and therefore the kids go to dad's at 5 p.m. and he's got the kids until the next day at school. So Halloween does work its way into our law.
Oops, I can't hear you.
You've been a divorce lawyer. Have you had to deal with Halloween?
It's never been like a super high conflict issue in my experience. It is something that, goes into separation agreements or court orders at times in the manner that you explained, or some other, variation. But I've never had to bring a motion over an issue surrounding Halloween. I've, in my general experience, things like Christmas, winter break, summer vacation, those seem to be more contentious issues, at least with my clients. How about you, Steve? Have you ever had
I've never had to go to court and argue a Halloween motion before. That hasn't come up, although, I'm not going to hold my breath. It might actually happen one day where people argue, because people do, some people place value on certain things, I have to say, and this is coming from a place of no judgment. For some people, it could be a particular religious holiday. It could be their birthday. It could be Thanksgiving weekend. Halloween has not hit that top 10 list of the most important day in the year for me and my family, and I got to have the kids on that day or else topic, but it certainly is in the list. It's not high on the list, but it's in the list. So in anticipation of today, I wanted to think about what we can tell our viewers to do vis-a-vis Halloween. And so I'm going to float one tip, one idea. And it comes from a place of really thinking holistically about when you split up, how could you create, despite your anger, your upset, your potential devastation over the loss of your marriage, the loss of your relationship, possibly because of acts committed by your other spouse. How could you go from that place to a place of achieving a successful divorce settlement with a reasonable, child-centric parenting plan, which, by the way, would include Halloween? And the answer is something that is low on the scale, like Halloween, something that really is not that big of a deal, is considered in negotiation theory to be a throwaway. So what's a throwaway? A throwaway is you throw something in that doesn't cost you very much. Message of conciliation, of courtesy, of generosity. So here's a perfect example. Couple splits up in August. It's now coming up to Halloween. Either one is very upset with the other, or vice versa, or both. And Halloween is coming up. And it's a toss-up. Who gets to be with the kids on Halloween? It's because this year it's Sunday, which happens to be the end of a week, the beginning of a new week. And so it is arguable that, you know what? The kids are supposed to be with me today till 5. Today I say Sunday till 5, but it's Halloween. So I could say, well, you know, it's Halloween. I'm going to keep the kids until 9. Or I could say, you know, the kids are with me till 5, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to propose to drop the kids off at your place at 3. That way you can get them all organized for Halloween. And this year, let it be special for you and the kids. I'll get it next year. That's an act of kindness, courtesy, and generosity that actually can pay significant dividends in the future. And
no,
so that's
I think that's great advice.
The Halloween chip can be played in such a way as an avenue to achieve a peaceful divorce.
No, and I think that's like a perfect example, and it's a great idea. You know, how often do people, you know, actually do that? I guess, you know, remains to be seen. But I think as lawyers, it's a great strategic piece of advice to give them, because although the other party might unfortunately be suspicious of why is he or she suddenly offering me, you know, being so kind and generous. But you know what, when you're in a high conflict situation, something as simple as that can change the whole dynamic of the negotiations or the conflict going on, and help settle things. And it's just such a simple thing to do. So I think that's, you know, one example of a great idea. I don't know if you have other tips on that.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, if you had to peel the layers, I'm going to say 2 things about that. One is it's those small things that make a big difference in life in general, whether it's a employer-employee relationship, or a father-daughter, or a husband-wife. It's those small acts of kindness that really can make a very large difference in a relationship. In fact, it's what causes relationships to actually form. In fact, some of those people that we serve probably ended up getting together and becoming married because of some of those small gestures at the early stages of the relationship. So it should be no shocker that those same acts of kindness might actually pave the way to achieving a successful post-separation, post-divorce relationship. But the other thing I was going to say, a bit more comical, is that most people don't even know why people wear costumes, and why they say boo, and why they trick or treat. And from my understanding, again, I'm not a specialist on any of the shamanic faiths, but from what I understand, the trick or treat and the costumes and the skulls and the bones and the ghosts, all of that is to scare the other person, to scare the evil forces away. And so how I draw that into divorce law is as follows. When people are splitting up, it's very common for each to have a narrative. She always does this. He never does that. These are narratives that are tattooed in their brain that convinces them why they are no longer together. Well, what if one spouse shocked the other one with kindness and generosity and caused them to maybe question their narrative? And nothing could be easier to shock with than something that's not all that valuable. One night of the year, Halloween. For the spouse to say to the ex-spouse, you know what? It's my time with the kids under our schedule, but I wanted to know if you would like to take them this year for trick-or-treating. And if you don't, no worries, I'll take them. But I just wanted to know that if this was important to you, it's been a tough year for us. If this is something that you think you would enjoy with them, I could bring them back to you at 3 o'clock and have them all costumed costumed up, or you can do the costume for them, whatever you want. And leave it at that. It's an invitation. And that invitation might fall nicely into the shocking effects of trick-or-treating. So the kids will shock the people at the door giving them the candy, and the ex-spouse will shock the ex-spouse with kindness and generosity. How's that as a connection for Halloween?
I think that's great. And I think it's important for people to always remember, it's about the children. So, most children probably don't necessarily care which parent they're going trick-or-treating with. They're just they're happy to be going trick-or-treating. They want one of their parents to come, especially if they're young. They need, to have a parent come. And, I think the parents need to focus on that. It's not about them as the parent and, does your memory of Halloween, does it have to be that you were the one out trick-or-treating with your child? Or could it be that, I offered up something like what Steve has suggested, and, that made everyone so happy, and it was such a wonderful evening for my child, and they were happy with their mom or their dad, and, that makes me feel good, and, that's a memory too. And so I think we have to remember to put our own egos out of it and our own wants and needs, and focus on the child and the children, and they want to have a happy experience. So I think, the type of suggestion you're making, Steve, is fantastic for that.
And let's build on that. What about some things maybe not to do? So may I suggest that things like this really do get one's emotions running a little bit higher when you're going through early stages of separation and divorce. The first Halloween, the first Christmas, the first birthday when the kids are not with you. These are important days. They're hard. They really are hard, especially when you're answering the door, giving treats out to other kids, and your kids are not even with you. That's really hard. So prepare for that. Prepare for the fact that it will be hard. And don't make it the kids' problem. Don't let them experience that it's hard on you. And that's tough work. That's tough work, because you want nothing more than to be with them like you have for X years in the past to celebrate Halloween together. And this year, hide it, hide the emotions, keep it to yourself, preoccupy yourself with someone else, something else, do something else, watch a movie, whatever. And let the kids really enjoy it. So a few takeaways, just like you said, Leanne. 1, make it all about the kids. 2, actually use it as an instrument of goodness and figure out how could you use this year's Halloween to achieve greater peace with your ex-spouse or your former spouse in the future.
Yeah, and I think one thing I would add too is that separation is a time to build new memories. So yes, you have the old memories of how Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays, all these things went when you were together as a family. But those days are going to be different moving forward. But different doesn't have to mean worse, or less fun or less of a good memory. So it's an opportunity to build new memories and come up with new ideas and be creative in how to make the first Halloween following separation really special, and maybe start a new tradition and look at it that way.
I had a family a couple of years ago do something I never heard of before. They set another date for Halloween. Instead of it being on the night when the kids were with Dad, they had Halloween on another night. And they didn't go trick-or-treating, but they did something at home. They decorated the whole house. They had a bouncy castle, and they had fun. It was their other Halloween. And nobody had any problem with that. And so think out of the box. Try not to make it all about your loss. Try to make it about your present and your future. And lastly, make it all about the kids, because if they're happy, it should bring happiness to you too.
Exactly. Well said. So I think that's it for this week. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks, Steve, and we'll see you here next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.